All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Doug Sandler from Turnkey Productions. On that side of the microphone, building his best life and his portfolio all at the same time, and the portfolios of his clients and the lives of his clients. Mr. John Browning, welcome back to the podcast.
All right, good to be here.
This is like podcast day for me. I've gone nonstop back to back in so many different diverse subject matters. I feel like I have the best job in the world. I get to talk about cars and trucks and finance and legal. And I just had the guy from his name is Kelly. Kelly is the CEO of Teej Thornton, and they're like a men's facial care company. And it's like these
Oh,
are
I could
great.
use that.
And I feel, the important thing is, you know what? You have to wash and moisturize, John. If you're not washing and moisturizing, your face just isn't getting the proper protection that it needs. But your skin is good. You have nice, bright, rosy cheeks, and you seem to be kind of feeling good in there. It looks
Yeah, and moisturized. Yeah,
moisturized. Do you use
I
any
spend
SPF? Using the SPF on your
what
face?
I spend at least 3 or 4 minutes a day.
Outside in the sun. Yeah, I get it. I spend more time in front of my fluorescent light than I do the sunlight. Yeah, so I got to get it. Southern
And I'm in
California.
Florida.
Yeah,
Go
and I'm in
figure.
Southern California. I got to get out more. I got to get out more. I'm spending way too much time in front of this computer. Anyway, at the end of last episode, we teased what was going to be coming up for this episode, which I love the subject matter. So maybe you can introduce a little bit more about paper maps to our
Paper
audience.
maps. Yeah, that's right. So we were talking about you and I are old enough to still be able to use absolutely just fine the old paper maps. And there are some listening to this podcast and I think I've heard of a
Of
paper
a
map.
paper
I
map.
don't think I've ever seen one,
Do you
right?
remember going into AAA and being able to get a triptych where you
I
could they give
loved
you like
those.
I love those too. I was so mad when they now have triptychs online or you get them on your phone. I'm like, I love a paper map. I bought like the last of the atlases that they had, the US Atlas that they had at AAA many years ago. But it's a sad time when you can't use your paper map, but I really do enjoy using technology. But let's talk about that because I think it's so important to be able to do both off grid.
Yeah, see that's the thing and kind of what I wanted to address because at least once a week, if not multiple times a week, I get a phone call, an email, a text, whatever, from a client or sometimes not a client saying, I just got this newsletter, I got this email, and they said that, the dollar is going away, where the government is collapsing and we're going to be, I need to buy more gold, or I need to buy non-dollar assets and NFTs and all that. And I get it, right? These newsletters are very good at one thing in particular, and that is marketing. Very good at kind of getting in our heads. I've purposefully gone out and listened to some because I don't want to be that guy that just says, "Oh, that's silly," and not have the other side of the story. I purposefully do that. And I've actually gone through those incredibly long videos. Have you ever opened one
Yeah.
of those emails?
Yes, yes,
Who
yes.
listens to that whole
I
thing?
I think it's a play to get people to click so their station becomes more or their channel becomes more popular so that they get more people to listen and they get caught up in the algorithm. I think the longer the video is, the better chances that you have somebody that will sit there for 5 minutes as opposed to 60, unless you have a 6 minute video that somebody's like, I'm only going to listen to 2 minutes of it. So I think they have the purposeful length of it so that people will tune in even for a much shorter period of time for some algorithmic reason. That I don't know, but that's my
Wow.
guess.
You know more about marketing than I do. See?
That would be well, there is some level, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's usually some level of truth to every stereotype that
Yes.
you see. So where did the dollar is going away, or you better get your gold reserves in your in your safe now because the currency or dollar is going away? Like, what is that even based on?
Well, I think, like you said, there's an element of truth to all this. To any good marketing story, there's an element of truth. And yes, our deficit is out of control. So the amount of money that the United States of America is borrowing from its own citizens and from the rest of the world is unsustainable.
Yep.
Completely agree. So what does that mean? What backs that? Well, the US dollar backs that, right? Our ability to tax things. Um, will we have to sell off our national parks to pay that off? I mean, that kind of stuff.
I hope not. It's got a lot of good fly fishing in those national
I know,
parks.
I love our national parks, right? Or will we just have a big inflation event where we inflate our way out of it and suddenly those dollars become worth
Mm. Mm.
less?
Okay.
But so that part, I think there's a lot of truth to that. There is again, there's some truth to the idea that the more dependent that the larger number of people becoming more dependent upon government programs gives the government more control over the larger group of people. I actually, that makes a lot of sense, and I do see some of that going on.
Yep.
I don't think there's a lot we can do about it, but here's the rub. So you're telling me I need to buy non-dollar denominated assets with what? Dollars.
Dollars.
Okay, so I go and I do that. So now I have this NFT. So NFTs, for those of you who are not aware, are, and they come out of, by the way, the technology that created Bitcoin.
I thought they were like so 2022. I didn't realize that they're still a thing. I thought they
It's
were.
still
I
a
thought they
thing.
came and went. They came and went so fast. I haven't heard NFT in the longest time. So tell me more.
Yeah, they're actually a little bit more sane. I'm going to say now. It used to be, somebody would just like throw up a picture of a cat, and suddenly somebody would buy it for $1 million or
Right.
whatever. Now it's like really worthwhile things. Like you can buy a real like original painting, a little piece of it, an NFT piece of it, and there's verification that you own that piece, and then they go to Sotheby's or whatever auction house and they sell it for $10 million, and you get your $20 piece of it or whatever. So that's a
It used
thing.
to be you could buy a star. You remember Galaxy.com
I
or
remember you
or
could
you could
buy a
buy your own
star. You probably still can.
buy your own buy your own Galaxy. I'm like, okay, well that's good. Well, now we got NFTs, but we use blockchain technology, so it makes it completely legitimate too. As long as
Yeah,
as long as cryptocurrency doesn't fall apart, I think everything that's blockchain related will it maybe have some value for moving forward. Who knows?
there you go. But here's the issue, right? So, all right. So we have this end of the world event, or our government sort of takes over, or whatever. And there's two issues, right? Number one, you're buying a non-dollar denominated asset with dollars.
Hmm.
And what are you going to exchange that for in the future? Maybe Bitcoin, maybe gold or something like that. I mean, you could sort of make the argument more for Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that. But the other issue is that if you really have an event like that, it's really difficult. And I don't know any grocery stores yet that are taking NFTs for a loaf of bread. Okay.
Well, they will take a credit card though, so
We'll
that's
take a credit card though. That's dollar denominated, by
yeah,
the way.
I got it. I got it.
And the other thing, so okay, well, I need gold and silver and all that. And the funny thing is that when people buy this gold and silver, they store it, generally speaking, they store it at a bank
A bank,
or a
right?
financial institution. Well, if all the financial institutions and the banks are shut down, or there's an electronic issue where we can't use our computers anymore, once again, tough to get your gold out to go buy the loaf of bread. Secondly, that's a very expensive loaf of bread. It's really tough to make change with the gold bar.
It sounds to me what you are saying is if we lose our ability to spend or buy with our dollar, we have bigger problems than spending or buying from our with our dollar. Is that correct?
That is exactly right. So when I have these conversations, and I'm okay thinking through this because I love analysis in general. I love to
Yeah, you were
think
head of,
through it.
head of the debate team in 11th grade. I know that.
Yeah. So
I
But
don't know that for a fact.
I'll talk to you, and I think it's legitimate if you really are concerned that this might happen, and I think it could be a legitimate concern. Well, what actually makes sense? Not probably not going and having like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of gold bars or having gold stored in a facility somewhere where you can't get to it. But
Right.
what would make real sense in the event that we had to do that? Well, what would you invest in? Well, maybe it's a solar powered generator would be number one, some seeds, some food, some gold and silver, but probably stored on your premises.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. I'm happy to speak with people about that and
Goats,
think
goats,
through it with
goats are good.
goats
You
to
know,
make milk. Yeah,
milk,
absolutely.
cheese. I like goat cheese. That's good.
Hmm.
I don't want to have to slaughter any of them though. So I
It's
might
a
need,
tough
I might
thing.
use the seeds. I might use the seeds in that particular case. With every newsletter that comes out that shares that message, I think about, okay, I'm following the money trail because normally there is something that newsletters are selling. And so they're either selling subscriptions, they're selling their gold, they're selling their blockchain or cryptocurrency
That's right.
denomination, whatever it is there like if you just follow the money, aren't you realizing why they're promoting the lack of dollar in the future? Isn't it because of these other things?
Yes, they're always selling something, another newsletter, another special report that you can only get if you pay us 99.99 for our, and by the way, in US dollars, um, for our newsletter, our special report. And then after that, there's always and then if you want even more, you could pay 199.99 for the even greater amount of information. And usually that goes all the way up into the thousands of dollars, and you can just click right on through.
Well, yeah, if you want the special behind the scenes program, the bonus information, all you got to do is click here and
And that will
pay
make
another.
you a fully prepared, gazillionaire.
That doesn't mean to say that those that are in our listening community should unsubscribe and demand a refund back from those newsletters. It's always good to hear what other options there are available. And you know, this show not being financial advice, I know that we are probably not wrong, but at the same time, look, there's not, maybe they could be right. They've been saying this forever. It's kind of like the aliens are coming, they're landing the mothership. I mean, how long, how many decades, how many millennia have they been actually sharing that information too?
Yeah, and I think there was one earlier this year that gave a very specific date. I think it was July the 22nd. So something could happen by July 22nd. You never know.
Okay.
And it would be the end of the US currency. I mean, at some point it very well could happen, but it
We
hasn't
have
happened in my lifetime yet.
we
And
have to be all very careful with what's happening. Just pay attention. We need somebody in our audience. If you would like to be the representative to subscribe to the newsletter and report back to us, we will put you on the. John already subscribes to a bunch of them. It's just whether he decides he's going to follow the advice or not. Every once in a while, he'll get a client sit in his office. I'm sure that shares. He's already shared that with us today. That shares what their prediction is based upon the newsletters that they subscribe to.
yep, that is right. I do actually read them, and it is really interesting. I have gone back, and some of the information is accurate, but if you read it closely, and they're very good at disclosing this, the difference between the facts and opinions, and how exactly is the scale on that chart written, and then you realize, oh, if you look at the long term chart of gold, for instance.
All right.
And I love my gold bugs. I own some precious metals. I'm not saying it's wrong, but if you look at the long-term chart of gold, it has kept up with inflation. Yes, absolutely. It's a good inflation hedge. It's been a abysmal investment in terms of how volatile it is and how
Yeah.
much you've been able to actually make in terms of a nominal return. Now, the folks right now would just look at the last 6 months and it's gone up quite a bit. And they're like, see, I was right. So, and that
Well,
is true.
gold is one of those things that could be challenging depending on if you try to time the market with gold. That's never good. Real estate's always a good investment at some point. Some days, you bought a house in 2007 or 2008 and you're looking pretty ugly right now, or
Yeah, it took
maybe not
over
right
five
now.
years.
But if
Took
you
over
held
five
on
years.
to it, so it's interesting because all of these things could become true. It just depends on how long you stay in the game. You bought a house in 2004, and in 2008 comes, if you sold in 2009, you would have lost your shirt. But if you held on to it until today, you probably would still be back up where you were before, if not well beyond there. It just depends
Right.
on what you got. Who do you want to follow and how long do you want to follow them for?
Right. Yep. And that's another great episode. We'll have to talk about the whole real estate thing. And I've recently talked to 3 different clients who have a very large portion of their investment portfolio in real estate. And real estate, gold, all of these things, it's all about what we've talked about many times before: portion control.
Well, portion control is important not only on your plate, but on your investment portfolio as well. Talk to John. He's a real good guy. You've been here for years talking to listening to us, and now it's time for you to actually bite the bullet. Text the word life to 321-421-5213. It's your opportunity to meet with the legend himself, Mr. John Browning. So how else can they get in touch with you, John? How else, what would be a good way for them to reach you?
Going out to guardianrockwealth.com. First of all, lots of free information out there. And second of all, hit the contact us section there. Go in, let us know. We'll come back to you, or you can schedule a meeting directly on my calendar. Either way.
All right, so check out John's check out the show notes in the podcast, and you'll be able to get access to John's website and the text number and information as well. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your expertise once again, John, and thanks for talking to us about triptychs and AAA. It's kind of my favorites. My favorites.
It's
Thanks
good
for
to
being
talk
here.
about that again. All
See you soon. Thanks again.
right.